Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to share with you 3 foods you should never refrigerate, and it will blow your mind what no 2 is. Also, I will share with you 3 foods that you absolutely must keep cold. So if you are ready for this, let's begin. But first, please hit that like button. It is very important for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to the channel so you can get more videos like this one. Also, stick around until the end because I have some free gifts for you. So the first food that you should never refrigerate is bananas. Did you know that? If you put bananas in the refrigerator, they will not ripen anymore. They will just stop ripening, and they will also start developing off flavors, so it's best to store them at room temperature. However, once they are ripe, you can actually put them in the refrigerator so they can last longer. But if they are not ripe yet, never put them in the fridge. The same thing goes with tomatoes. Tomatoes need to be kept at room temperature so they can continue ripening. If you put them in the refrigerator, their texture will change. They will become mealy and they won't taste good at all. But once they are fully ripe, you can actually put them in the refrigerator to extend their shelf life. The third food that you should never refrigerate is honey. This is probably something that most people don't know. But if you refrigerate honey, it can actually crystallize. Now this doesn't mean that it will spoil or it's not safe to eat. You can actually still use it even if it crystallizes. You can actually put it in a bowl and put it in a sunny area and it will liquefy. But why would you want to do that, you may ask yourself, right? Well, if it's not good to put honey in the refrigerator, what is? And the answer is nothing. You can actually store honey at room temperature or even at higher temperatures. In fact, honey is one of the few foods that never spoils. Even if you leave it open and you leave it at room temperature for years, it will not spoil. It's actually safe to consume even after years of expiration. However, the flavor and the texture may change, but it will not spoil. Now we have established that bananas, tomatoes, and honey should not be refrigerated. Let's move on and talk about the 3 foods that you should always keep cold. But before we do this, please hit that like button. It is very important for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to the channel so you can get more videos like this one. The first food that you should always keep cold is bread. Did you know that if you keep bread at room temperature for a long time, it can develop mold on it and it can actually make you sick? The reason why this happens is because flour, which is one of the main ingredients in bread, is actually made from grains, and grains have a high moisture content. And since they have a high moisture content, they can develop mold. So it's best to store bread in the refrigerator. If you have a bread maker, like many of you do, you probably know that the bread stays fresh for a lot longer if you keep it in the refrigerator. The second food that you should always keep cold is cooked rice. Did you know that if you leave cooked rice at room temperature for more than 2 hours, it can be a breeding ground for bacteria, and this can make you very sick? In fact, many people get food poisoning every year from eating rice that was left out at room temperature for too long. So it's very important that you refrigerate cooked rice within 2 hours of cooking it. The third food that you should always keep cold is poultry. Poultry, which includes chicken and turkey, is one of the most common sources of food poisoning. That's why it's very important to keep poultry cold at all times. If you leave poultry out at room temperature for more than 2 hours, it can start to grow harmful bacteria. And if you cook it, it can cause illness. So it's very important to keep poultry refrigerated until you are ready to cook it. Once it's cooked, you can actually keep it at room temperature for up to 4 days. But if you want to keep it longer than that, then you should freeze it. So we have established that bread, cooked rice, and poultry should always be kept cold. Let's move on and talk about some bonus tips. So the first bonus tip is that if you have leftovers, you should always refrigerate them within 2 hours of cooking them. Don't wait any longer than that, because it can start growing bacteria, and you don't want that. The next bonus tip is that if you are picnicking or having a barbecue, you should keep your food cold by using a cooler. Don't leave your food out at room temperature for more than 2 hours, because it can start growing bacteria, and you don't want that. The next bonus tip is that if you are camping, you should keep your food cold by using a cooler. Don't leave your food out at room temperature for more than 2 hours, because it can start growing bacteria, and you don't want that. The next bonus tip is that if you are pregnant or have a weakened immune system, you should be extra careful about keeping your food cold. Harmful bacteria can grow quickly at room temperature, so it's very important to keep your food cold if you fall into one of these categories. So now that you know all about how to keep your food safe, it's time for me to reveal what the no to food is that you should never refrigerate. Ready? Are you ready? It is peanut butter. Did you know that if you refrigerate peanut butter, it can actually separate, the oil can separate from the peanut butter and it can make your peanut butter taste bad? It can also make it difficult to spread. So it's best to store peanut butter at room temperature. Now, if you have a jar of peanut butter that is already separated, don't throw it out. You can actually put it in a bowl and mix it together. You can also microwave it for a few seconds, and if that doesn't work, you can actually put it in the refrigerator upside down, and it can help the oil blend back into the peanut butter. So now you know my 3 favorite foods that you should never refrigerate and 3 that you should always keep cold. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you learned something new. Please remember to hit that like button. It is very important for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to the channel so you can get more videos like this one. Also, you can click here and see my 7 superfoods that you should be eating every day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.